Sometimes, and I say sometimes quite specifically, sometimes we confuse being needed with being loved. Not because they're the same thing, but because they can feel remarkably similar. When people rely on us, call us first, ask us for our help, or tell us that they couldn't have managed without us, it's natural to feel valued. After all, being needed tells us we matter, or at least it can feel that way. Imagine someone who's always the first person everyone phones when something goes wrong. They're dependable, organized, calm, under pressure. Over the years, they become the person who remembers birthdays, solves practical problems, checks in on relatives, and keeps everything moving. They rarely complain. People admire them, but one day, life becomes heavy. They're the one who needs someone else. Instead of reaching out, they quietly tell themselves, oh, everyone's busy, it's okay, I'll sort it out. I just don't want to be a burden. The very qualities that made them dependable can make asking for help feel strangely unfamiliar. Being needed can slowly become part of our identity. At first, it's something that we do. Eventually, it becomes who we believe we are. The organizer, the helper, the listener, the strong one. Those identities often begin with kindness. The difficulty is that identities can become cages if we no longer feel free to step outside of them. There's another side to this that interests me. Sometimes people don't realize how much of themselves have become wrapped up in being useful until they're no longer needed in quite the same way. A job changes. Children grow up and move out of the family home. A relationship ends. A caring responsibility comes to an end. Retirement arrives. The routines that once filled every day become quieter. For some people, that quietness feels like freedom. And for others, it can feel surprisingly unsettling. Not because they miss the pressure, because they miss the sense of purpose that came with it. When I was teaching English as a foreign language in China, I had classrooms with 80 pupils in there, and English was a foreign language to them, and I was there to teach it to them. So there was a heavy reliance on me to support them, even with the basics. And I came back to England after a year of being in China, and when I was in England, I was still teaching English as a foreign language to students whose first language wasn't English. And there was a stark difference wherein the students who had little to no English in China, there was a reliance, there was a dependency on me to support them in so many different ways. And then when I came to England and I was teaching English as a foreign language, it felt vastly different. I wasn't needed as much. I wasn't relied on as much to support them. And that difference was very, very noticeable. It reminds me that, being needed is only one way of feeling valued, but it's just not the only way. Because one thing I've noticed is that healthy relationships don't only allow us to give, they allow us to receive. That sounds simple, doesn't it? Yet receiving can be surprisingly difficult. Receiving help, receiving patience, receiving kindness, even receiving understanding. Sometimes those things make us feel more uncomfortable than offering them. Why? Because they ask us to be seen in a different role. Not the capable one, just the human one. A relationship becomes unbalanced when care only travels in one direction. Not overnight, quietly. One person keeps giving, the other keeps receiving. Neither intends for it to happen. Life simply settles into a pattern. The strongest relationships aren't those where one person never needs anything. They're the ones where support can change direction without anyone keeping score. There's a thought that stayed with me. Your worth doesn't increase every time someone needs you, and it doesn't decrease when they don't. That's easy to say, isn't it? But it's harder to believe. Especially if you've spent years earning appreciation through reliability. I think there's something freeing about separating our values from our usefulness. Because usefulness changes, jobs change, families change, life changes. Our value shouldn't have to change with it. You know, the next time you notice yourself saying yes before you've even asked how you're doing, pause for a moment. Not to stop being generous and not to become less dependable, simply to remember that the people who care about you probably don't only value what you do. They value who you are when nothing needs fixing at all. Maybe that's the version of ourselves we should become more familiar with too.